What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be going through all the Lightside characters and ranking them from worst to best in Galactic Assault. Now, just about every man and their dog has done one of these hero ranking videos, but a lot of you guys have begged me to do my own now that all of the new characters have arrived, and so I thought I may as well add my own video into the mix. Before we get into it, I just want to make it clear that this is just my own opinion. Majority of you guys will most likely disagree, which is fine, so if you do, then make sure to leave your own rankings down in the comments. Again, this is just for Galactic Assault, but if you guys want me to, then I might eventually do one for HVV as well, so let me know if that does interest you. So anyway, coming in at the number 10 spot, we have the mighty Chewbacca, and I think most people will agree that Chewie is easily one of the worst characters in the game, at least in Galactic Assault anyway, but honestly, I'm not too sure why he actually does suck. His shock grenade works well against infantry, Furious Bowcaster makes his weapon actually really good and you can just melt through anyone, and even Charge Slam is pretty decent against infantry too, so honestly I can't actually put a finger on it why I suck so much as Chewie. The main thing that makes him hard for me to play is just his regular Bowcaster. I'm not too sure why, but honestly I just suck with that thing, and I think that is definitely an issue when someone's main way of attack isn't very good, so maybe that does explain why he's not the best. Overall, when you compare him to just a regular trooper, he is still decent, so it's not like he's actually that bad. Any hero or villain in this game is still pretty good, but to me Chewie does unfortunately come in last place on the list. Coming in at number 9, I've put Finn, and again another example of a character who isn't too bad, but just compared to the other heroes in the game, I think he's very underwhelming, although that kind of does suit his role in the movie, so I guess that kind of does make sense. Now, we all know Finn's Deadeye ability is absolutely crazy. To me, it's probably up there in maybe the top 10 abilities of all these Lightside characters, but the thing is that it's really his only ability that can be viable when you're in a bit of trouble. His Big Deal and Undercover abilities aren't necessarily bad, but they are definitely pretty lackluster, especially since his health on kill does actually come from using the Undercover ability too, which does make it definitely a bit harder to gain back any health. I do also hate how his health buff makes him unable to sprint. To me, that kind of defeats the purpose of using it if you are in trouble, as then you're just going to get killed anyway. I know it's meant to be more team based rather than just a health buff to yourself, but I do think it still should allow you to sprint. On top of that, and I think this is more just me than anything, but I seriously suck so much at using his regular blaster. I don't know what it is, but I cannot aim that thing to save myself, so for me, Finn does come in second last on the list. Moving on to number 8, and for this spot I have chosen Leia. Now, even though Leia is only one spot higher than Finn, the difference between her and both Finn and Chewie is enormous in my eyes. To me, she is such a better and more viable character than those two, and again, even though they are only one spot different, they are worlds apart when it comes to how well I can actually do with them. Leia's blaster is one of the funner weapons in the game for me. It has been nerfed a whole lot in terms of its alternate fire mode, but it is still a heap of fun to use, and I'd say it's still probably one of the better weapons in the game. Her abilities are slightly underwhelming in my opinion, but they all do serve a good purpose. The combination of her shield and the E11 rapid fire blaster can be really helpful for holding down objectives. At the same time, I do think her flash grenade is pretty useless, and even when your screen is fully whited out, you can still see people's names and figure out where they are. So it's not terrible, but in my books it is definitely one of the more useless abilities in the game. Overall, I think Leia is a pretty decent character, and she's definitely good for newer players to get the hang of, but for me she does come in as the third worst Lightside hero in the game. Coming in at number 7, we have Lando, and again I think the jump between him and Leia is pretty significant, even though they are only one spot different. His abilities are some of the best in the right situations. His sharpshot ability is without a doubt one of the funnest to use in the entire game, and I don't think anyone will deny that getting those 5-man multi-kills with just a click of a button is very satisfying to do. His other two abilities are also really useful in Galactic Assault as well. Having the radar is so handy for your awareness, and being able to then stun enemies with it too is also super helpful, especially if an enemy villain is trying to hunt you down. His smoke is also pretty useful in the right situation. It's definitely not the best ability, but I do think it serves a good purpose, and I find it pretty useful when you get in trouble to throw down the smoke and run to safety. His high health and crazy rate of fire is definitely what makes him so fun to me. He really suits my playstyle with blaster users, and despite being number 7, he would have to be one of my favourite characters to use in the game. Moving on to the number 6 spot, we have our first saber user, which is ObiWan, and I do have to say he's probably the worst Lightside saber user in my eyes, which is hard to say because he's by no means a bad character at all. I think what does it for me is that he does seem to be a little clunky in terms of his animations. His saber attacks and dodge and all that kind of thing does just seem to be not as smooth as the other characters, and it does sometimes seem to affect how well you can do with him. On the other hand, his stamina is actually amazing if you're a bit more of a defensive type of player. You can block for what feels like 30 seconds straight, and you can kill enemies so easily with the deflection, so that is definitely something he does much better than all the other characters in the game. His enormous health regen is also probably the best thing about him. With the right cards equipped, you can get all the way down to 350 health and still still regen all the way back to 750, so that is something that he has a massive advantage with over all the other saber users. Moving on to the number 5 spot, we have Han Solo, and in my eyes this guy is easily the best blaster character on the light side, and even up there with some of the best in the whole game in general. His DL-44 is easily the best weapon in the game in my eyes. 1 or 2 headshots with this thing will kill any class, and with how accurate the blaster is, it's not at all hard to land a couple of quick headshots with it. We all know just how crazy his detonite charge is as well. That thing can legit just wipe out rooms of enemies with the click of a button, and it's got to be one of the most satisfying ways to get a multi-kill in this game, as there's really just not much the enemy can do about it. He can definitely die very quickly too if you don't play it safe, but the way he can just melt enemies does also mean that he can quickly regen his health. So for me, he is easily the best light side blaster user in the game. Coming in at number 4, we have Luke Skywalker, and this is a character that I did struggle a lot with back when I started, but now that I've gotten the hang of him, I think he's easily one of my favourites to play as due to his speed and crazy abilities. His ability to one-hit kill with the force push, as well as combine his rush attacks with a repulse for an almost instant kill, makes him so hard to kill for your enemies. And for me, he's probably one of the most enjoyable characters to play, seeing as he does just really suit my fast playstyle when I play as a saber user. His only downside is that sometimes his abilities can bug out, which can often lead to a pretty frustrating death, and he can also struggle against heroes at times since he deals a lot less damage than any other hero, but overall he is definitely a beast in Galactic Assault. Moving on to number 3, we have Master Yoda, and for me the difference between Yoda and Luke is actually fairly big, as I think the top 3 are miles better than all the other light side characters in the game. Yoda's tiny hitbox and fast movement are to me what makes him so good in Galactic Assault. He's almost impossible to shoot on the move, and if he's really close to you and dashing around everywhere, there's almost nothing you can do other than just accept that you are going to die. One thing that does let him down is the fact that he can only regenerate health from his force push ability, which is known to be buggy at times, and so if you are in need of health and it does bug out, then that can often lead to a very quick death. Bugs aside though, his abilities are some of the best in the game, and combined with the small hitbox like I mentioned earlier, he's definitely a beast in Galactic Assault. Now coming in at second place we have Rey, and I think it's well known that she's been one of the better characters in Galactic Assault for a long time now. Almost since launch she's been up there with the best in the game. Her lunge, swing speed and high damage output are all so useful for taking out enemies, but her main strength is undoubtedly her insight ability. This thing is a full-on game changer in Galactic Assault. This can be the difference between winning and losing a lot of the time, and so it's almost solely because of that that I did choose her at number 2 over Yoda. Now finally coming in at the number 1 spot we have Anakin, who I'm sure this isn't going to surprise any of you at all. He's easily the best not only on the light side but in the whole game in general, and so it should have been fairly obvious to you guys that Anakin would easily top this list at number 1. He is definitely super overpowered, and a lot of people have an issue with that. I did just make a video on it a few days ago, so if you want to hear my thoughts on that, then make sure to go and check that one out. His abilities are all crazy fun to use. It honestly feels like you're playing arcade with him at times, as he is just so powerful. However, there is a pretty high chance that he'll get a nerf sometime soon, but I do still think that he'll pretty much always be the best character in the game, so I don't think that that will change this list at all. So that is going to be it for this one, guys. I'm keen to see how many people either agree or disagree with this list, so like I said, definitely feel free to let me know your own list down below. If you did enjoy the video, guys, make sure to leave a like down below to help support the channel. I will of course be doing an all villains ranked video in the coming days as well, so make sure to keep an eye out for that one as well. If you are new to the channel, then definitely feel free to subscribe and make sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on any more Battlefront 2 videos or live streams. Thank you all so much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.